What should Europe, the EU, do about Israel and Saudi Arabia? Well, in my recent video, uh, should the EU create a Middle Eastern union between Turkey, Israel and the Arabs? I set out the EU's plan for this, where you would have a customs union that would be a common currency and a common tariff around Israel, the Palestinians, Jordan, Lebanon and Egypt, and also perhaps Turkey, although Turkey would probably be in the EU. Therefore, you can see how Europe is changing the laws and economic ways that people act around it in the sphere, thus creating a sphere of influence in North Africa, the Horn of Africa, and in the Middle East, and also in Western Asia, because of course Ukraine and Belarus would also like to join the EU eventually, and NATO. But the problem is the recent killing of 9 Turkish citizens by Israel. That means that a NATO country, Turkey, and an EU candidate member, Turkey, could possibly have gone to war with a EU ally, Israel. Now, what can the EU do to help the left in Israel? That's a problem. Because in the Middle East there is a basket case country with a nuclear weapons program and a fanatical right-wing government which has a fundamentalist religious outlook. And am I talking about Saudi Arabia? Yeah, I could be talking about Saudi Arabia, but I'm talking about Israel. The problem with Israel is that it sees itself as a country with a manifest destiny to exist at the expense of its neighbours. Now, the problem is that the Israeli left do not see it that way. The Israelis want left, and I would say the majority of the Israeli street see that they would like a democratic, social democratic Israel. How the founding fathers of Israel, who might have included Albert Einstein himself as president, had he accepted, wanted. So therefore, what is the contrast between Israel and Saudi Arabia at present? Well, at present there is still a wide gap between Israel and Saudi Arabia, but as a threat to Europe, we must take credibly the fact that there are fundamentalist religious parties in Israel who would quite often call for the destruction of Europe, and these people have access to nuclear weapons, so they should be taken seriously. They also have massive political influence in the United States, where there's a very strong pro-Israel lobby in the form of AIPAC and the Anti-Defamation League, Anti-Israeli Defamation League. So what can we do? Well, I think going on a complete isolationist route to isolate Israel would be a backward step, because it would be like giving up, and it would give the Israeli right what they've always wanted, to show that Europe is an anti-Semitic state, and that everybody in Europe hates them. But that's not true. What we need to do is to change the opinions and have a media war campaign in that sense, to change the opinion of the Israeli street through incrementalism, to gradually change the opinions and change the outlook, and thus we will get the election victory of the left, the Israeli Labour Party, that is required for peace to happen in the Middle East. Now, what should we do about Saudi Arabia? The country that is ruled by 2 crime families, the Saudi royal family, which is a crime family, and the Bin Laden crime family. Well, do I have a red button? And do you like glass parking lots? Because that's what I would think we should do with Saudi Arabia. But fundamentally, that cannot happen. You cannot attack Saudi Arabia. Why? Because all of a sudden the Americans would suddenly find out that they liked the Saudi Arabians, because the oil flow would be cut off. To invade Saudi Arabia, you'd need to get the backing of America. because America is the protector of Saudi Arabia, and it is often that's just as Israel. It can often be said that America is a dog with two tails, and they're both the dog is being wagged by both those tails, and those tails are Saudi Arabia and Israel. They often give off a foul smell whilst they do this, and cause wars in the Middle East in the process. But should the EU invade Saudi Arabia? Well, that would have to happen over a very long, gradual process. We would have to create such an economic system in Saudi Arabia that got them off of oil before they would ever allow troops of European descent to be in their country. And of course, that is what caused so from the Al-Qaeda's point of view, it was Americans being based in 1991 to attack Iraq the first time under Bush the Elder, that caused the schism between Al-Qaeda and the United States, because before they'd been allies with the Bin Ladens. This is what happens when you support a crime family, because they can quickly turn. An irrational, feudalistic crime family does not hold with its allies for long. Once the Soviets were defeated, then of course the Bin Ladens turned on the United States, and they turned on the Bush family. Would they have even have rejoiced had Saddam Hussein been successful in killing Bush the Elder? That might have well been the case. But fundamentally, the oil routes that must be protected by EU forces and the United States forces on the Horn of Africa are being threatened by the encroachment of Al-Qaeda into the Horn of Africa. That's why I've said many times that a Jewish social democratic state should be set up in the Horn of Africa. In my vids on Boer independence, I mentioned this, because that was the original homeland of the Jewish people, not Israel. They migrated from Ethiopia to Israel, and that is a historical fact. And this is why the Jewish people have a long history of trading with India as well, and all around the Indian Ocean and the Red Sea and the Mediterranean through that time, and that's why they had contact with the Egyptians. But all of this is in that old book, the Bible. Now, I am not religious at all, but surely if Jewish people could see that there would be an alternative to Israel, they might go there, and you could have a partnership between the European Union, a Jewish social democratic state in the Horn of Africa, and we could fight back against the Bin Ladens there through that proxy. So what the EU needs itself is an Israel of its own. But because, of course, the EU is dominated by Celtic and Nordic people, we would not have we would not have our dog wagged by its tail. We want to make the Bin Laden 6 feet under, and to do this we need to destroy the Islamic banking system through cyber attacks. Also, we need to create a wall of non-political and economic connections, and so to make a no man's land of non-connections around the Bin Laden family, and eventually use physical force to crush them. So I would like peace in the Middle East, but I want those Bin Laden bastards 6 feet under. Thank you for listening.